My real issue is it feels like we never learned the lessons. In fact, many years ago, they came nicely. They came as Christian. They came as good people trying to teach us the gospel. But we ended up in slavery. But this time around, they're coming with armies and guns and bombs. You still trust them without any sort of reassurance, any sort of security measures? Fellas, a recent development comes across as the Russian government is in a discussion. I think they have finished the discussion with the Sudanese government in order to establish a Russian military base in Sudan. I don't know if this is okay with you guys, having foreign nationals, foreign countries, foreign power installing their military presence in Africa. I don't know if people are thinking of the consequences of that. So, in a recent development, came as it established a deal with Sudan. Vladimir Putin seeks to revive Russia's global foreign policy clout and has turned Moscow's attention to the geostrategic Horn of Africa. Will Russia be able to expand its influence in the region amid China's economic sway and potential pressure from the United States? A recent development came as it is established that a deal with Sudan, November, which was signed on December 1st to run a military base in Port of Sudan on the Red Sea coast. In return, the Sudanese Navy will obtain Moscow support to search and rescue anti-sabotage missions and benefit from the Russian defense system installed on the site. So this is crazy because we have the Chinese that are occupying Djibouti, okay, the military base of Chinese army in Djibouti. We have another power, the Americans, that are also occupying Djibouti. We know they are in presence in Niger, in Cameroon, in many other places in Africa. So I don't understand what's the urge of having all these foreign nationals installing their powerful armies in our continent. What's the use of it? So the Chinese powers live in Djibouti. Apparently the reason why they're there is because they are there to fight piracy. The pirates that run across the coast of Djibouti all along, you know, the Canal Suez Canal. We all know that many years ago, boats used to leave Europe in order to go to India. They will traverse all the way down to South Africa, meaning Cape State, Cape Coast, and go all the way to India. And that was a strenuous way to commerce, a very difficult way to make money because they have to travel many months across Africa to go on the other side of the world. Therefore, they came up with a great idea looking to break this little area between Egypt and the sea, between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. They needed just to break a little bit to create a stream where the boat could traverse easily and therefore preventing them from spending many months turning around Africa in order to make money. That would be a great deal. So that area belongs to Egypt, but for some financial reasons, the British got involved. They got invested into building the Suez Canal, but then they had the issue, a difference. They almost came into war because they could not agree on who's going to be running the thing, who's going to be making the most money. So right now, that's a very interesting place because most of the ships that comes to Europe and come across go through it. We have about 30% of ships around the world pass through the Canal of Suez. That's about 20,000 ships in 2021. That's a lot of ships. So it's a very strategic area to actually have your positioning. That's probably the reason why many of these countries, powerful countries, Russia, United States, and China, are trying very hard to have a bit of land, to have a space where they can operate. Now, the reason why the Chinese army is there is because they want to fight piracy, they say. Now, piracy, it's a very dirty word, right? When you hear people say, we are fighting pirates, what do you think? You think about criminals, killers, very negative people, right? Obscure people. But the reality is many Somalians say the reason why they become pirates is because these supposedly pirates are actually fishermen. So these fishermen have an issue because illegal boats come and fish their fish and finish it. So most of the fishing boats come from China and many other different countries. They come to that side of Africa. They throw nets in the ocean and fish most of the fish that they had, therefore pushing them out of business. Now, obviously, when somebody's out of business, what is he going to do? You're taking everything out of his mouth. He cannot feed his family. He cannot take care of his siblings. What is he going to do? He's going to become violent most of the time, especially if he knows that what you possess is something that belongs to him. That's one of the reasons why these guys become violent pirates. We can see that one of the main reasons China has its military on that side is because China consumes a lot of fish in the world. Chinese have been accused many times in several areas of Africa of stealing fish, including in West Africa, where they finish the fish in some areas of the coast of West Africa. So they do that very often. They have boats that have no matriculation. They go anywhere they want in the world and try most of the place they want in the world and take illegally the fish and just go away and sell it to the world market. That's one of the main reasons why a lot of Somalians have become pirates, because they want to make a living. They're trying to get back what has been taken away from them. So that will justify one of the reasons why the Chinese will want their force to be not far from the Horn of Africa. Now, the Americans are there. Why are Americans there? That's the big question. Why are Americans in the corner of Africa? Because of control. You know, we live in a world where the strongest people want to control everybody else. And in order to control, you need to be present. Your presence is very important. Now, the Russians are saying they want to be part of it. They don't want to be left behind. Now, my question remains here. If as African people allow all the time all these powerful countries to bring their base, to create military base, to create infrastructure, to stay with us, and most of the time we don't even know when they're going to leave, because when it's time to leave, it's always issues. I mean, look at France in several countries. Côte d'Ivoire, they created mayhem with Gbagbo. France in Mali created mayhem when Mali asked them to leave. France in many other countries, it's always trouble. It's easy to come in, but when it's time to leave, it becomes an issue. We don't want to leave. Why? Because obviously there is a reason. Why would somebody come into your house and refuse to leave if he's not benefiting from anything positive? That's not possible. I believe if you go to somebody's house and they say you must leave, if you're not gaining anything, you would leave, right? So when you refuse to leave, what does that mean? It means you are getting something from being there. That's the reality of many of these powerful countries in Africa. Why would Africans continue to accept foreign powers into the land while we're not equipped enough to defend ourselves? Just think about it. What if tomorrow these countries wanted to claim some part of the land? How do you defend yourself? Which African country has installed its powerful military in a foreign country? I don't know any of it. Which African country has decided, you know what, from now on, we're going to go to Turkey and install our military base? Which African country has said, from now on, we're going to go to Moscow or to California and install our military base for our interest? None of it. No African country has done it. I think it's real ignorance to believe that somebody will just come into your house and stay and be nice to you for no reason, for no apparent reason, for no advantage, for no benefit. Don't you think this is obvious? This is ignorance. The message here is, we understand that there must be a dynamic, there must be a level of equality, because you cannot just have NATO being strong while everybody else is weak. You need some sort of balance in order to have a balanced world. Not just one person must be strong. We need other people to be strong too in order to have a balanced world. You cannot be the house that hosts everybody who has no interest at heart for your benefit. And Africa should stop believing that anybody out there wants the good of Africa without any interest in return. It doesn't work. Not in the world of today. President Obama paid about $63 million for extension of rent. $63 million only. That's a very little money for a country as big as Djibouti. I believe that us, Africans, need to understand where Africa is going. What type of power we're giving away by allowing foreign powers to install their military in our land. It doesn't work. I don't think any country out there in the world would accept that an African country bring its military power, even for training, to stay there for a long time. It doesn't exist. My real issue is it feels like we never learned the lessons. In fact, many years ago, they came nicely. They came as Christian. They came as good people trying to teach us the gospel, but we ended up in slavery. But this time around, they're coming with armies and guns and bombs. You still trust them without any sort of reassurance, any sort of security measures? Doesn't make any sense. This is colonialism 2.0, meaning this is another opportunity to recreate what was finished in the 1960s. Colonization. I think Africans need to open their eyes and see things for what they really are. What we're seeing here is powerful countries installing their military bases in Africa. And we know, as per history, many times countries have fought proxy wars in different countries. And those countries have lived the consequences of those wars. Why would you bring in the American base, the Russian base, the Chinese base in the same continent? What if they get into a real conflict? Who's going to pay the price? We are going to pay the price of it. How can we not be responsible enough to see that? Why would you bring into your house somebody you would be unable to ask to leave when that time comes? Why would you bring into your house someone too strong that you would be unable to ask them to leave if you got to that point? Who in his normal mind, who in his stable mind will bring into his house somebody too strong to ask to leave? You don't do that. You rather have them outside instead of letting them inside, because when they're inside, it becomes very, very difficult, extremely difficult, complex to ask them to leave. Wake up, Africa.